What's good, y'all? It's your man Sight, and today I'm going to walk y'all through my sample-based workflow when using the MPC. Now this is going to work for the MPC Touch, the Live, the X, and the new MPC One that just dropped. So I'll have tabs in the right-hand corner. You can thumb through anytime you want, and you can actually revisit this video and just check out the section you had questions on. I'm going to be doing some more of these tutorials coming up, so if you have questions about specific parts of the MPC workflow, make sure to drop the questions down there in the comment section. Hit that like and subscribe button, and make sure you hit that bell notification so you get notified every time I drop a new video. All right, let's get busy. All right, y'all, so we're in the lab. Let's go ahead and get into this beat. My apologies for the lighting in here. I actually using the window as my main light right now, and it's a cloudy day. It's like off and on, so it might get brighter, might get darker. So my apologies in advance. But main thing is we're gonna focus on this screen right over here, and I'm actually gonna make it bigger for you so you can see it. Boom. All right, so first things first. Let's say we're starting with a sample-based beat, right? So I'm just gonna pick out a sample. I actually have one pre-selected. I mean, you can actually sample it live, into your MPC. For sake of simplicity for this video, I'm just gonna pretend that I've already sampled this. It's actually a collection of samples that I have, and I'll play it for you. Now I'm selecting this one because it has notes that are easily choppable. So some samples aren't as easy, but this is one I just selected for this video, which should be pretty easy to chop up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and load that up. I am going to hit the top corner pad and hit load. All right, and so now that is right here. All right, so let me see. Let's go into sample edit. Anytime you have a sample playing too many times, you can always double tap the stop button, and that'll stop any noise that's going on, just for new MPC users that didn't know that. All right, so this is the sample edit window. Bottom left corner, you can see the trim down here. I'm going to change that to chop. All right, and we're going to use the lazy chop, which is my favorite way to do it. So that just lets you tap a new pad for each chop that you want. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get it started, starting with the bottom left corner pad. Okay, and it automatically shoots over to bank B when you get done 16, and then you can just play these back. It seemed pretty close to on beat. You can go in and actually, using the cue links, you can modify the start and end points right here. I think I did a pretty good job with chopping it up. Like I said, it's a pretty simple one. I'll make some adjustments to the beginning. Cool. All right. So I like the way that sounds so far. So what I'm going to do is hold shift, go down here to convert, and we're gonna convert it to a new drum program using slices. That'll put it in a whole new drum program for us. I like to use pad parameters, but non-destructive slice, you can use that as well. I'm just gonna keep it on pad parameters for now. All right, now this will bring us back to our main screen. Blank sequence. I'm gonna go over to track 5. You don't have to do this. I like to put my samples on track 5. That gives me tracks 1 through 4 for my drums. And it's kind of arbitrary, but it's just a habit that I got used to. So I usually start on track 5. And let's turn the program down here to the name of the sample, which is Kitaro Sunset. And this is the one that I sliced up. So boom, it's on there. Now, first thing that I'll do is I'll find the tempo. So, and I'll do that using the tap tempo button right there on your MPC. So, usually I got it in my head once I play it a couple times, and I'll use the tap tempo to kind of get a reference, right? So, if I want to do kind of like a double time trap thing, I'll do it at that tempo, and it'll be looks like about 126, and do a double time. I think that's a better fit. Now, if you hear some of those chops, it sounds like they're truncated, meaning they're not filling up the full space, which is a 16th note. So that means your tempo is a little too slow for the sample. So let's go ahead and adjust it. Bring the tempo up. All right, so it's a little closer. So I think 140 would probably be a good bass tempo for this. Now we can change that later. This is just so I can lay it down. So I got my pattern laid down. And now what I'm gonna do is go into program edit. All right, and I'm gonna select all up here at the top where it says A02, hit all. And what that's gonna do is select all the pads. So whatever I do to one of these pads, it's gonna do to the whole program, each pad on the program. So I'm gonna hit warp, right? And that original tempo that we had, which is what, 140? All right, I'm gonna turn that up to 140. All right, so now our tempo is matched to the loop that we have, all right? And that applied it to all the pads. Now, you can take it off all, because if you leave it on all and you make adjustments to any of these parameters, it's gonna do it to all of them. It can ruin your whole program. So once you set the BPM and the warp, make sure you tap all, change it back to current, and that'll just make sure whatever pad that you're working on individually, it applies to. So at this point, your tempo locked to your sequence, right? This thing you laid down, if I wanna change it now, and I want to slow it back down to 126, it's still, it automatically time stretches it to the tempo that you slow it down to. So I can bring it down even more. And you see there's no more truncated notes. Once we got those notes compacted in the right tempo, and we warped it, now it's synced. Now the cool thing about that is, let's go back to 126, which I feel like was a pretty cool tempo. All right, back to program edit. Now, this entire sequence, this entire program, which that sample chop program is, we can change the tuning as well. Just go to program edit. All right, hit the master in the left corner. And now you can choose which key you want to put it in. We'll go with kind of like a dark trap feel on this one. I like that -8 key that it's in right there. All right, cool. So we're all set now. That's tempo locked. That's, you know, BPM synced. And anytime you want to change the key while you're making this beat, if you want to go in and change the key later down the line, you can do that as simple as just going to master and turning that semi knob, and that'll apply to the whole program. So you can always change the key, and that's cool when, you know, you get a little further into the beat and you're like, man, I don't know, I kind of like it up a little more. And then basically all you have to do is change that, and then even if you're using synthesizers on other tracks, using VST tracks or MIDI tracks, all you have to do is transpose it the same amount. So say for instance, with this, if I lay down, let's go ahead and lay down an 808, and we're gonna do that on a key group. Now I'm gonna kind of fly through the key group. I'll try to break down a couple things, but this is my workflow usually for trap beats or sample-based beats. So if you guys have more questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to address them in the next video. So usually my next step when I'm doing trap based beats is to add an 808, right? So let's see what we got here. I'm going to use that one because it's easier to hear if you don't have headphones on. So it has a little more of a top end. So I'll go ahead and load that up. All right. And then usually bass lines, I'll put on track 8. Again, completely arbitrary. This is just the way I organize my tracks. I put usually samples 5, you know, the main loop at 5, 6 and 7 accompanying instruments, usually 8 or 9. I'll make the bass line, but I'm just put it on 8 for now. So I'm going to go to 8. I'm going to tap the keyboard on the screen. That's going to bring me to my key groups. All right. Now it's going to create a new key group since I didn't have one before. And a key group is just going to map that 808 across the pads. But we have to take a couple steps to do it first. All right. So it's armed, ready for the key group. I'm going to go back into program edit. All right. And I'm going to change this to mono, which I like to start 808s. I like 808s to be in mono polyphony, so they cut each other off. They're not running into each other. I'm going to switch it to one shot down here in the right corner. And you don't have to keep it on one shot. You don't have to change it to it. I like it because it plays the whole 808 all the way through. But if you put it on note on, you can hold it down as long as you want it, and it'll cut off when you let go of the key. All right. But I'm going to put it on one shot for now. All right, go over to samples, and we're gonna turn that, it's called Antidote 808. All right, and next step, go over to pan velocity, the next tab over, and over here on root note on the right side, we're gonna make the root note, I always put it on C0, all right? Now you can adjust it later, but what that does is that makes C0, that makes the C0 key kind of the main, I mean the same key as the sample as you downloaded it. So typically I feel like that's a good range because once you get into your B bank, I'm hitting the banks on the MPC, and once you get into the B and C banks, that's usually a good range. So this is just kind of changing up the octave. That might not be in C, but we're gonna go ahead and just give it a shot and see what it sounds like. All right, so now it's mapped out when I hit my keyboard, or you can do it on the pads. All right, now what I like to do with my 808s is I play them in a higher octave to make sure they're in tune. All right. So I'm doing that in a higher octave. We're gonna drop it in a second, but right now I'm gonna go ahead and lay that down. And right now I have my time correct set at 1/16. And for this, I'm gonna shift the timing just a little bit. I like to do that on 808s because it drops it a little bit behind the kick, makes the kick punch out once I lay that down. So record, play, start. All right, cool. Now, being that we have the 808 laid down, it's in key, we can transpose it up 12 semitones. That's going to put it up 1 octave just so we can double check it. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and make it 24. Sounds weird, but at least you know it's on key. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it back down. Let's drop it 12 semitones. That's going to drop it 1 full octave. And now it should hit on the notes that we want exactly. This is an ugly 808, not something I would normally use, but I mean, it's kind of trendy right now. Kind of like Mike Will, aggressive 808. All right, now another trick. I'm gonna do this now. I'll do another video breaking it down, but with my 808s, I like to pitch bend them, and it's very simple. Once you have your pattern laid out, just go to LFO modulation, and this pitch bend down here, turn that all the way up. That's a full octave of pitch bend. You can change it to 30, 50, whatever, kind of fits you best. I like to be able to pitch bend my 808s a full octave if I want to. So then I'll mess around while that's playing. And now this pitch bend wheel over here on my keyboard. Allow me to do easy glides with it. So MPC, you have to do your glides manually when you're using a key group, which kind of sucks. It's one of the features I wish they would implement is a glide knob. But for right now, this is a cool way to do it on your pitch bend. So let's go ahead and experiment on that bass line. I like that right there. So overdub. It's cool. All right. Now let's go ahead and add some drums. Got the 808 situated. Let's see. Go ahead and change the program. Now, tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me show you real quick. Tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4 are wide open. Samples on 5. 808 is on track 8. All right. So that leaves me 1 through 4 to lay drums down. Now, I'll go to track 1. And down here in the drum program section, that's going to be on your chop by default. So switch that to program 1, which is your standard program that has nothing on it yet. All right, and now let's go ahead and start loading in some drums. So I'm gonna stick with this folder I have open now. Let's see, we got some hi-hats. All right, now I'm just tapping on the pad that I want it on, and it turns green. It'll light up green, and then you just hit load, and that's the pad it'll load to. So open hats, go to close hats. Actually like that one. So I'm gonna load that on a pad, light it up green, hit load. And I'll do a higher one on another pad. All right. Now let's go to kicks. That'll work. Sometimes I'll load up 2 or 3 kicks just to make sure I have a couple options. All right, cool. Hit the up button. Let's go to the snares. I like that. It's kind of like a rim shot. Load that up. Load that one up too. Like a little reverb on my snares. All right, cool. Got the drums loaded up. Let's go ahead and lay something down. Now, I usually put hi-hats on track 1. Again, this is all preference. Some people like to put all their drums on one track. I like to split them up. I like to put hi-hats on track 1, snares track 2, kick on track 3, and then track 4 will be like my percussion. Just an old habit I had. I'm used to doing it on mixing boards from back in the day. So you would go high frequency to mid to low. That's pretty much the way we used to set it up on the mixing boards. So yeah, let's go ahead and lay something down. I'm going to start with the snare. All right, I'll go to track 3 and let's lay down a kick. Now, usually at this point, I feel like the beat is getting a little repetitive. It's time to start working on some variation. So I'll hit the pencil tool up here in the top right in the sequence section right here. All right. And we're going to go to double length. Hit that, and that'll turn into an 8-bar sequence. So when you're working on a double time beat, which is, high tempo, 120, more than 100, usually you want to double the length. An 8-bar loop is kind of equivalent to a 4-bar loop at a slower tempo. So that'll just give you more ways to vary, the beat while it's running. All right, so now we got an 8-bar loop, and it copied everything I just did. And now we can mess with the hi-hats. Now, what I like to do in my hi-hat patterns when I'm doing trap especially, but usually most of the beats I like to make the hi-hats lag a little bit behind the beat. Some people use nudge. I like to go into time correct and shift timing 3. All right, and what that's going to enable you to do is once you lay the hi-hats down, and then I'll bring the strength of it down to about 90, maybe 90, 92, something like that. And that just makes sure your hi-hats aren't super stiff. It'll make sure they're lagging behind the snare just a little bit. That's what that shift timing 3 is. It knocks over the hi-hats a little bit to the right, so they're trying to keep up with the snare, which gives it more of a natural feel. I'll just let you hear it. Shift, note, repeat. And that's our hi-hat. So let's lay that down. And when I'm laying it down on the fly like that, I'm just tapping the overdub button when I'm ready to record. And let's try our other hat. So usually trap beats, I'll try 2 different hi-hats. I'll do a lower one with just keeping the rhythm, the basic rhythm, and then I'll go to track 4 and lay down more of the rapid stuff. So let's try that out. Now when we go to grid, you can see everything. So now, once you got a few tracks laid down, I'll go to track mute, drop some stuff out, just to hear what it sounds like. Now, I like that hi-hat, but it's a little bit high for me. So you go to menu, pad mixer, tap that, and then just bring it down a little bit. All right, boom. So we got the basics of our track laid down. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is start making variations of the track. So I'm going to go ahead and tap the pencil, name this one. Let's call it verse 1, right? Okay. And then I'm going to tap the pencil again and copy down at the bottom, copy sequence, hit that. Track 2, let's call it verse 2. Okay, do it. And I'm going to copy that same way. I'm going to call this hook. So this is just preparing. We haven't really changed anything yet, but usually I have verse 1, verse 2, hook, and then later I'll do an intro. All right. So 3 is going to be the hook. All right, boom. So verse 2, I want to have all the tracks, the double time hi-hats, and then verse 1, I want to just have the single hi-hats. Actually, let's make it with no hi-hats. Take off 4, which is the double time hi-hats, and then track 1, I think we're going to keep the open hat on track 1. So go ahead and take the select tool, and let's select all those hi-hats we laid down other than the open ones. All right. So boom. hold shift, hit cut, it'll take all those out. All right. So now we just got the open heads. That's verse 1, verse 2. Now, what I'll do to make a variation on this is let's change up the bass line at the very end, okay? So say we want to make it go boom, 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 boom at the end, all right? Let's go ahead and raise this note. Shift cut. So let's go find those notes. All right, so let's overdub. Went a little too high on the octave. So let's see. Like these. And transpose. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That'll bring it down one octave. It was good. It's just that one note was just a little bit off. Yeah, that first one. Good. Now, one other issue is these notes don't hit as hard as they should. So let's turn up the velocity. 127. Now we'll turn them red. Actually, this one too. Boom. All right. Now what that does is going into the hook, it gives us a little bit of a change up from the first verse sequence, the second verse sequence, and that'll just make sure going into the hook, people expect something to change. All right. Just a little mental thing. All right. So let's go into our hook now and add some more instruments. All right. So we got our main loop. And let me see what we can add here. Hit plugin. And I'll keep it on the, I'm using a touch. So all my plugins are VSTs, but I'll keep it with the ones that come with the, you know, with the live, the X, and the One. All right, just the stock ones for now. If you're using controller mode, you know, that's going to give you the best options for VSTs and accompanying instruments. But this is just something we'll try to put together real quick. All right, so let's go to our tube synth and let's try out some sounds. Go to program edit. Let's pick a patch here. Go to lead. Something basic, just want to lay something down for y'all. Alright, let's see if we can add some effects to that. Alright, it does have a delay on there. Let's see if we can turn it up a little bit. Hit the feedback. Actually, let's hit the mix first. Just fix this one note. All right. Nudge. No, it's bothering me. All right, back to program edit. All right, so I'm gonna change up the sound. I don't really like that one that much. A little better. Give it some more reverb. And I'm just going through the sounds you can see at the bottom of the screen. I mean the different effects they have as part of the plugin that comes with it. Cool. So now we got something for the hook. Now this is a good time, once you kind of get a groove going, I probably should have done it before, to go ahead and save your project. All right, so I had an audio crash on a couple steps. Having an issue with my interface, so my apologies for that. I'm gonna try to walk you back through a couple steps that I added after my audio went out. So basically what I did was I just took the hook that we had, added one more sound to it, and it sounds like this. Little kind of like scream in the background. I got it out of like a Giuliano pack, and I added this sound out of the tube synth. As you can see, it's called On the Beach. And I added an auto pan sync on it. So you can see over here. And those are the settings I put on it. And that just makes sure it kind of waves back and forth between the speakers. All right, so real quickly, just wanted to go through that. Then I duplicated the hook to a new sequence. All right, I'm going to call this the intro. So that's where we are now. We took the hook, added all this stuff to it. And actually, one more thing that I did was on the verse 2 sequence, I went in all the drums. I'll show you on the grid. And I cut off the last bar, basically from 8-2 to 8-4. I just deleted all the hi-hats on the track. Track 2, deleted the last snare. Track 3, deleted all the kicks. And track 4, deleted all the hi-hats. All right. So now when it plays through, this is the second part of the verse, you know, when you have like a rapper spitting and you're about to go to the hook. So it's just a little dropout transition to the next part. All right. So then duplicated the hook, called it intro, changed the name. And now we're going to go in there, hit menu, track mute. All right. That's if you're using the touchscreen. If you have buttons on your one, you can probably just go right to the track mute window. All right. And let's take all the drums out. All right, let's see what this sounds like transitioning. I'm gonna keep that screaming there on track 9, but I'm gonna delete the first one. Fifth cut. All right. Let's see how it transitions to the first verse. Or maybe we'll go into the hook to start off. Cool, I like it. So now we got a rough way that we're gonna set it up. Go to menu, song mode, and now let's set it up. Now there's a quick way to do song mode. This is another trick. Hold down record, and then tap the pad of the sequence that you want. So we'll go intro, hook, verse 1, verse 2, hook, verse 1, verse 2, hook, hook, intro, and we'll make that the outro. So now it's all laid out. You see, you didn't have to hit insert and do it the old school way. If you hold down that record button, tap it again, and you tap the pads of the sequence, the corresponding sequences you see on the screen, that'll add it in there for you. And you can always go back and change it. The 1 is how many times that it repeats. All right, so if you want the intro to repeat twice, you just change that there. And of course, you can change which sequence if you made a mistake. So, or you can just delete it if you hit the delete button. So this should be cool. What I like to do is once I have my sequence all set up in song mode in the order that I want it, I'll hit this convert to sequence button down at the bottom, and I'll make it, let's make it track 5. That's cool. All right, now we'll go to track 5. We'll rename it full song. All right, and now everything's set. And what I like to do is I like to throw my tag on in this one. Let's go to track 10, and I'm gonna drop in. I have a folder with my tag in it. So tags, load that up on a pad. And I'm just going to sequence that in. So a little low. Let me bring it up. Hit the pad mixer. Hear that back. That's simple. And that's the way I avoid using a DAW. So if I don't want to go outside of the MPC software, I rarely do. I'll do it that way, or I'll put my tag on an audio track and just duplicate it multiple times throughout the song. And that's good, man. That's good to go. So, you know, that's a quick way if you want to go in and then, you know, drop out. Now that you have it in one long sequence, you can see it's 80 bars over here. You can just go in and make changes and variations, you know, to the each sequence and dropouts and things like that. But this is just a cool way to kind of 2-track your beats, you know, make them accessible, you know what I mean, for people if you want to upload them. This will kind of put you in a good space where you can at least, you know, bounce them down to a 2-track for somebody to write to. And usually, you know, that'll do the trick. If your song is mixed, you know, fairly decent. Like I said, I'm always in controller mode because I have a touch. But, you know, you can always go to controller mode if you are not using a touch, if you're using the Live, the One, the X, and just utilize, you know, some of your VST plugins if you have them. So yeah, that's it. You know, top to bottom as far as how I set up a song. I hope this, you know, walkthrough helped you guys who were asking a lot of questions and, you know, gave you some answers. I'm sure there's plenty of things I might have breezed through or not spent enough time on, but make sure to leave your questions in the comment section below. I'll be sure to get to them. I'm going to start cranking out a lot more content on MPCs this year. You know, the game plan is to really just make sure I'm sharing all this information and, you know, the skill set with you guys. And the main thing to remember is it doesn't matter if you have the Touch, the X, the One, the Live, or even the Studio. You know, the workflow is pretty much the same. It's just the touch screen makes it a lot easier, as you can see. But a lot of these principles will work on the smaller screen. A lot of them, not all of them, obviously. So yeah, that's that. If you guys have any other questions, you want to get more details, you can always jump in the MPC Gang group and Facebook. Just look up MPC Gang in your Facebook search bar and we should pop up. We're up to about 900 plus members now. So trying to get to that 1,000. We do sample challenges, you know, share just a lot of information about the machines and it's really all about the producers. We don't do anything with, you know, rappers or anything like that. We all obviously have our artists that we work with, but in the group, it's just all about us and building. So some really great guys in there. Love to have you. If you're interested in the merch, I have it on my website, which I will put here, imsite.com. You just basically, you know, I have all the merch on there, MPC Gang stuff, and some other, you know, producer-based stuff you see back here, my cook-up shirt. Yeah, man, I just try to keep it creative for you guys. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'll leave your comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe, hit that bell notification, and keep you guys updated on what I'm working on. But yeah, man, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Peace.